A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to TV shows that deserve the spotlight. And now, what we're gonna do is cover a few things based on another show that is Cartoon Network related. And if you remember when I talked about Destroy, Build, Destroy, you probably don't quite notice. But if you actually watch the show itself, Destroy, Build, Destroy, there actually was one particular episode which happened to be a cross-reference to another live-action Cartoon Network-based show that was going on at the time as well. I'm talking about Dude, What Would Happen? This is a show that also ran in the late 2000s and early 2010s, around the same time that Destroy, Build, Destroy was going around. And much like how Destroy, Build, Destroy went down, Dude, What Would Happen would also fall. The failure of Cartoon Network's attempted live-action show network itself, a subsidiary, if you will. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out, though, because they were only so well received at the time. But many people tend to look back on both these shows with a lot of grace and a lot of praise, knowing that they at least tried their hardest to ensure that they could potentially make something pretty awesome. And the way I see it, in the same way that I really loved Destroy, Build, Destroy and their idea to create a probably not great game show in contrast to what we got from shows like Press Your Luck or The Price is Right. But as for Dude, What Would Happen? Some might think of it as being an altercation to Mythbusters. Yes, this is basically like if you put Mythbusters into a what if question, but with some signature dude flair. Basically, that urban lifestyle that everybody has been interested in for a long, long time. And it seems that in more recent years, that's been even more prevalent. The thing is, Dude, What Would Happen basically circumnavigates the life of three friends, Ali, Jackson, and CJ. One is super cool, one is super goofy, and one is something pretty much in between both these different personalities. All three of whom are basically on a quest to see all kinds of different questions answered. But it's in a rather crazy environment. You see, there's a lot of material here. In terms of episodes, let's go scroll through those. And I feel like that after that part, why don't we talk a bit about the show itself? As I've said, you got three friends who navigate around and wonder and ponder all kinds of stuff, and then they try to answer these questions almost like how a FIOC would work. You basically pose questions, form a hypothesis, design an experiment, make observations, and draw conclusions. But in this particular instance, we have a show that basically allows three friends to look at all kinds of different things, pull off crazy scientific experiments, show to the world in a similar fashion that Mythbusters would have done. But the thing is, there's also the elements of what-if questions involved. In this particular instance, a couple examples of which that I can point out include, Dude, what would happen if we played tug of war against a sumo wrestler? Or, Dude, what would happen if we tried to feed an entire cafeteria full of students? Now, these are just two examples of the many, many different things that they have basically navigated. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that basically goes down. They create their own sets reminiscent of a Godzilla movie. They try to create a way to gather up leaves out of a swimming pool in a short amount of time. And they even try to give a giant foot a big stomp on a giant soda can full of soda. Obviously, nobody would ever want to stomp on a full soda can that's sealed while barefoot. But you know what? At least the ideas that they have put together here, based on scientific analysis between all three of them, it at least has a good way to show how far they're willing to go with no lab, no limits. Well, I feel like that, in the same way that I've talked about with other shows, I don't try to give out too many details here and there, but I can at least point out that Dude, What Would Happen is still an amazing show for what it is, in the same way that Destroy Build Destroy had some rather big innovations put to it, while technically not being wholly original. As I've said before, Destroy Build Destroy is a bit of a more cheaper concept of a game show that has its own signature elements. It has Andrew WK hosting the whole games, and he's been known to be an iconic rock star even to this very day. While Dude, What Would Happen basically is like if you mixed Mythbusters and What If together into one. And while What If is technically a public domain thing, it seems that in more recent years, an entire YouTube channel is based on it. The MCU has its own series dedicated to what if questions, and even Futurama has circumnavigated the what if ingenuity in the form of 2 episodes known as Anthology of Interest 1 and 2. So the thing is, the idea of what if questions is basically more than just universal. And the fact that Cartoon Network tried to cash in on this little phenomenon back in the day only further exemplifies and personifies on the fact that it is highly likely that if done correctly and in a certain fashion, you could actually get what you're looking for. But as I've said, this subsidiary where a Cartoon Network live action craze had become no more by the end of 2011. So, both shows were just off, unaired, and likely were never seen again until someone was able to dig up both these shows. It probably could have been more people than that too, who really knows. And as of today, YouTube apparently has now preserved the legacy of both these shows by having as much of the episodes as possible in the same way that other shows like Ozzy and Drix or even the Toxic Crusaders TV show, there's a lot of shows that unfortunately were hardly ever past the point of being aired on television. And sometimes, if you were lucky enough to even get a hold of maybe CDs or VHS or DVDs of the shows themselves, that is one thing. But as of now, it does seem that the internet is going to make a huge new world for those who want to revisit or possibly explore the worlds that these TV shows had created for us. So, I guess with that in mind, that's all I got to cover for this piece. And so, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side if you'd like to see more.